It's crooked, Mr. DuQuette.
Thank you for telling me. How's that? How's that?
Good enough.
It's Sunday school, but it's going to be more like Saturday morning cartoons. But it is Sunday school, and what is happening in the heavens, dear?
It's full moon today. So we're going to go howling. I don't know. Anyway.
Do you want to hear me howl? Should I do my...
No, don't howl. Don't howl, please. He's not allowed to howl on camera. Anyway, it's full moon.
Yes, okay. And...
A story?
Yes.
We are going through Jean Paul's children's books because we've been carrying them with us for, well, he's 50 now, forever. And I'm saving a few for fun. But we thought we'd read this one because it's appropriate for today. Lon's going to do something else, and this is truly only 5 minutes. Don't panic.
And now.
And Lon will wiggle as he holds it, so you'll go nuts.
Welcome to Sunday Schools. We're joined this morning by the pastor's wife. She's come in straight from the parsonage. She's still in her apron. But anyway, I'm going to try to hold this up. We'll give full publish.
How about the cover?
Yeah, well, here's the cover.
It's Moon Man by Tommy Ungerer.
Okay.
It's a discard from the Anaheim Public Library, hence there are a few crayon marks in there that Jean Paul would never have done in the book.
Because we respect books here.
We always said books are our friends.
At the parsonage. So, here's...
Is that going to be how you're going to hold that, honey?
I'm going to... let's see here.
Remember
there we go.
I thought you were doing it like this.
I will.
Well, then let's do it like that. Ah, good. Oh, this is going to drive all of us crazy. On clear, starry nights, the Moon Man can be seen curled up in his shimmering seat in space. Each night...
Hang on. It's a big, long thing there.
Each night from... Oh, Lord.
Okay.
Each night from his drifting sphere, the Moon Man was filled with envy as he watched the Earth people dance. If only once I could join the fun, he thought. Life up here is such a bore. One night, a shooting star flashed by. Moon Man leaped just in time to catch the fiery tail of the comet.
Are you listening, Jean-Paul?
This one's for you, Japa. The night creatures of the woods fled in terror at the loud crash of the fallen star. The noise brought hundreds of people from a nearby town. Soldiers sped to defend the earth. Firemen hastened to quench the flaming light. But the ice cream man hurried to set up his stand for the spectators. Must have been in the United States. When they reached the site of the crash, no one could decide what the pale, soft creature lying in the crater could be. Government officials were alerted. Statesmen, scientists, and generals panicked. They called the mysterious visitor an invader. This could never happen. The Moon Man was thrown in jail while a special court conducted a criminal investigation. See, that upset some child. Poor Moon Man. His hopes of dancing among the gay crowds and bright lanterns were crushed. One night... God!
Okay.
You wiggle too much.
I wiggle too much. I'm sorry.
We're over here, actually. We're on this page. We start here.
Yeah.
One night, as Moon Man sat wondering why he was so cruelly treated, he noticed that his left side had faded. Why, I must be in my third quarter, he thought happily. Every night, as the moon grew thinner and thinner, so did the Moon Man, until at last he was able to squeeze through the bars of his window. When the head of the armed forces paid a visit to inspect the weird captive, he found the cell empty. The general was furious. Days later, the Moon Man reappeared in his first quarter. A quarter of the moon came back. 2 weeks later, he had reached his full size again. Delighted with his freedom, he wandered about, discovering the sweet-smelling flowers, the marvelous birds and butterflies. He came upon a garden party where people in gorgeous costumes were dancing. "Look, someone has come as the man in the moon," a lady cried. The Moon Man danced blissfully for hours. Alas, a grumpy neighbor complained of the late music to the police. Scared by the sight of guns and uniforms, the Moon Man dashed off to the nearby woods, but he was spotted by the police and a wild chase began. Swiftly outracing the police, the Moon Man shot across the countryside. In a lonely place, he came upon an ancient castle. There he was welcomed by a long-forgotten scientist, Dr. Bunsen Vanderdunkel. For centuries, he had been perfecting a spacecraft to reach the moon. Now finished, the intricate machine rested on its launching pad on a castle turret. Dr. Vanderdunkel had grown too old and too fat to fit into the capsule. He asked his guest to be his first passenger. The Moon Man, who had realized he could never live peacefully on this planet, agreed to go. Dr. Vanderdunkel decided to wait for the moon to enter its third quarter. By then, the Moon Man...
Okay. Sorry.
We'll never do this again, I promise. By then, the Moon Man will have grown small enough to fit into the capsule, he thought. A few nights later, the Moon Man took leave of his benefactor. With tears in their eyes, they bade each other farewell. Then the Moon Man blasted off with a roar of rockets. Having succeeded in the launching of his spacecraft, Dr. Vanderdunkel at last received the recognition he had so long deserved. He was elected chairman of an important scientific committee. Having satisfied his curiosity, the Moon Man never returned to Earth and remained ever after curled up in his shimmering seat in space.
Well, that went flawlessly.
We will never do that again, I promise.
Anyway, that was.
How to read a moving object.
There was another one that we read to Jean-Paul. Constance read to
Oh,
Jean-Paul.
Good Night Moon?
Good Night
I
Moon.
have that too, but everybody has that one memorized.
I
If
know.
you had a child, so.
So, okay.
I am now leaving.
Thank you, dear. I have
Really?
a permit.
Lon doesn't ever move anything except his fingers and his mouth, so it was very difficult for him.
I'm out of breath. Okay. Well, that was.
I have to go and move everything except my fingers and my mouth.
That was sweet. I hope Jean-Paul was listening to that, and it brought back some memories. Anyway, there's lots of Crowley moon stuff and magical moon stuff, and it's a full moon in Aries. Okay, and when I consecrated my wand so many years ago, and I tell the story. It was I made up a 2-week consecration ceremony where I invoked fire using the preliminary invocation of the Goetia and the barbarous words of evocation associated with the element fire. And every day for 2 weeks between the new moon and the full moon in Aries, I did this consecration ritual, and obviously it was like all my magic. It was a comedy of airs, but it occurred. It's a magical date for me, full moon in Aries, because it brings back that the memory of that early magical operation. And I wanted to do all sorts of stuff. There's things from the treasure house of images and things from the rite of Luna, and the rite of Crowley's rite of Luna from the rites of Aloysius. Although it's the last in the series of the rites of Aloysius, it was in a sense the first public ritual that Crowley threw together, sort of to test the waters. It was sort of like the pilot show for the rite of Luna, and it was called the rite of Artemis. And that's the one that they did it at the office of the Equinox, and they invited the press, and part of the thing was nine bowls of libation, or 9 drinks that were passed around communally. And supposedly the drinks were a combination of fruit juice and alcohol and mescaline. And so they dosed everybody in the audience, and it was remarkably successful. And the press gave it good press, and it finally, when the rites of Aloysius got really going, it was well attended, and it was done at Caxton Hall, and which is hardly a hall, but it's anyway. But I'm not going to do the rite of Luna. Okay, the officers of Luna, like the officers of all the rites of Aloysius, are sort of the astrological figures associated with the planetary sphere involved. So the officers of the rite of Luna are Luna, and she's Artemis, the Lady of the Moon, and she's veiled, totally veiled throughout the whole rite, except at the very, very end. Spoiler, at the very, very end, Pan himself, the great god Pan, tears down the veil. But you don't see Luna throughout the whole thing. She's veiled. And when it's often, the rite of Luna is mounted in such a way as you can see Luna is thinly veiled behind the gossamer veil of some kind, and you just see her, and the actress playing the role has to stay very, very silent and still and goddess, and everybody's just in awe. And the 93 Lodge down in Orange County one year had a bank, a circular bank of laser lights that was above the head of Luna in the east. Okay, and so in other words, she had a ring around her of laser lights. I don't know how many, a dozen or so. It was quite a technical achievement. And when the laser lights were on, and there was fog in the room, she was veiled by this drifting smoke-like fog, illuminated by the laser lights. And when Pan tears down her veil, of course, there's no physical veil for him to tear down. All they do is shut the lasers off, and there she is. It was awesome. But anyway, so it's Luna, Cancer, Taurus, okay, a nymph, a satyr, and Pan. Those are the officers. But anyway, there's all sorts of poetry. They're beautiful, beautiful stuff. And there's nine bowls of libation that's passed around. And of course, when it's mounted in modern times, people aren't given psychedelics without their knowledge at all. So, but usually it's wine of some kind. Okay. And when just before Pan tears the veil down, he does this, or an officer dances till they drop, the officer that plays the satyr. But here's his last poem, and that's what we're going to end today with. Now remember Luna, Artemis, Diana, okay, the virginal huntress. Uncharmable charmer of Bacchus and Mars, in the sounding, rebounding abyss of the stars, O virgin in armor, thine arrows unsling in the brilliant, resilient first rays of the spring. By the force of the fashion of love, when I broke through the shroud, through the cloud, through the storm, through the smoke, to the mountain of passion volcanic that woke, by the rage of the mage, I invoke. By the midnight of madness, the lone lying sea, the swoon of the moon, your swoon into me. The sentinel sadness of cliff-clinging pine, that night of delight, you were mine, you were mine. You were mine, O my saint, my maiden, my mate, by the might of the right of the night of our fate, through, though I fall, though I faint, though I char, though I choke, by the hour of our power I invoke. By the mystical union of fairy and faun, unspoken, unbroken, the dusk to the dawn, a secret communion, unmeasured, unsung, the listless, resistless, tumultuous tongue. O virgin in armor, thine arrows unsling in the brilliant, resilient first rays of the spring. No godhead could charm her, but manhood awoke. O fiery Valkyrie, I invoke, I invoke. Everybody enjoy your full moon. And we'll see you tomorrow on Moon Day. And tomorrow is all sorts of things, including Indigenous People Day. And we may have an appearance from the faux princess Smiling Squirrel and her husband Sleeping Bear. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.